Welcome to the Frustration to Freedom podcast, helping advisors and insurance producers grow their practice. My name is Mike Bemis, Senior Advisor Development Consultant at Simplicity Minneapolis. I got my partner in crime, my counterpart here, Jeremy Karja, also Senior Advisor Development Consultant at Simplicity Minneapolis. Jeremy, we got a special guest today. We've been trying to get this set up for a long time. We finally got him. He's a busy guy. Our founder, Brian Gengler, the one that helped create Simplicity Minneapolis with Mike Stranka. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, guys. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah. So Brian's been a mentor of ours. I would say, how we've learned to coach producers a lot because of what Brian's taught us. And he's taught us how to help producers because his industry experience and how he's really helped FMOs in the past. I guess, Brian, really quick before we get started, give a little bit of your background of kind of in your industry, how you got here, how you ran on the FMOs that you did in the past.
Well, it's hard to believe, but I've been doing it a while, going on 33 years. So I cut my teeth at Life USA. It was a employee-owned, insurance agent-owned insurance company, which most people know of today as Allianz Life, and I spent 17 years there. I spent a few years at a company called Aviva, which is today known as Attained, and then the creation, of course, of First Income and of course Simplicity Minneapolis. For both those companies I ran, I was always a field guy. I traveled continuously doing workshops or training, mentoring, coaching agents for both those companies, and so I've always been in the field and always enjoyed my time spending time with agents in the field, because let's face it, that's where that happens.
That's where the rubber meets the road. So that kind of leads in the next question and get us started here. So, tell about kind of how you met Mike, and kind of how that evolved into creating now Simplicity Minneapolis and what we do.
For, my time both at Aviva and Allianz, I ran what they call the owned FMO distribution. Today at Allianz, they call it True Choice. But I was the one to kind of create that system, acquire those organizations, and I had an intimate knowledge, unlike probably most anyone else in the industry, is I got to see all the independent FMOs, but I got really detailed knowledge of own distribution for both Allianz and Aviva. And along the way, when I made that career shift, it was a big year for Aviva. Aviva went from, $2 billion of sales, literally in 24 months, to over $8 billion. And I was new to a company. I wanted to find out what was going on. I had responsibility over the Aviva-owned FMO distribution, and up popped Starenka's name. He actually led Aviva in personal sales for 5 out of 9 consecutive years. And being that we were in a high growth, going from $2 billion to $8 billion, I scheduled some time to go out to his office and find out really what was going on. He was doing, I think, in those times, $40 or $50 million with Aviva. I knew that he did another 10 or 12 with the Allianz, the great Americans of the industry. And I expected when I met him to find a guy who, we've all seen this, he was larger than life. He had the magic marketing system. He had a magic phrase where, you pull up to his office, he's got a line of people around the side of his building just coming in to lay out $1 million cases to him. And as I spent time with him, he said, Brian, I don't have any magic. I have, repeatable processes that I built my business on. And he gave me a book. He said, you ever read the E-Myth? And of course I said, yeah, I'm a fan of Michael Gerber. I love the E-Myth, or E-Myth Revisited. He said, I wrote a book with Gerber called the E-Myth for Financial Advisors. And he said, my entire practice is a system. I don't have the magic phrase. I don't have the magic marketing bullet. I don't have a magic product that nobody else has, but I have systems, process, and procedures as the foundation of my practice. So I know when I drive into the office, I have appointments on the calendar. And I know if I treat my existing clients this way, I should get this much in future sales. And I should be able to earn the right to, at that time he was getting about 40 referrals a month. He said, so my entire practice is built on this foundation. It's not something that's haphazard. It's very predictable. It's very repeatable. And it gives me a business that I can do $3 million, $4 million a month. And the crazy part about it is it was duplicatable 14, 15, 16 years in a row. But the real crazy part that I found in Mike's business was he was doing that business working 5 to 7 days a month.
Amazing.
Jeremy and I just talked about, we saw that, the last few days before he sold his practice, working 4 to 5 days a month and still doing $3 million a month in annuities every single month. And it's like, dude, the guy's a machine, right? He's a machine.
He'd go up on an afternoon and close a couple million and then finish out the coaching. I was like, who is this? A lot of guys do that an entire year. He just did in a quick afternoon.
That's the big aha for a lot of advisors who come to us is they in their mind, it's like running a 4-minute mile, right? When Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, they said you can't do it because your heart will explode. Well, once he did it, I think it was broke another 12 times in the next 2 years. It's a mindset. So when we have these advisors come to us, they think that they're busy and they're running a good business at 2 million or 5 million or 10 million. And really what we lay out in front of them is the opportunity to on a very repetitious basis do 3 million a month, more than what they do in 12 months or in 24 months, to do that every single month.
That's a great point. And Brian, at that time, I think you saw in the marketplace there was a need, right? Like you're looking at all these FMOs that you had helped train up some of them and build them from 30 million to a billion and all these different things that you had a hand in. But you also still saw a need out there, like something was going on. So what made you and Mike really say, okay, there's a big need in the marketplace, we need to do something about it, and what did you do?
Well, I think my first conversation with Mike about that was, his response to me was, Brian, the last thing the world needs is another FMO. And he said, I've been with quite a few of them, and there's never been one that has added any value to a producer like myself. And I had quite honestly seen that in the industry over the preceding probably 10 years, is FMOs were really product providers. They had the top contracts with insurance companies. And what I noticed was the FMOs of adding value. The world had become, we have this product and hey, at your level, I can give you an extra 50 or 100 basis points to write it with me. Or what are you working on this week that I can run you an illustration. And what I saw was a real need in the industry for FMOs that could say to an advisor, listen, if you truly have the desire to grow, if you're frustrated with where your business is at, whether it be in sales or revenue or profit or just lifestyle, there wasn't an FMO out there that could say, listen, we can take your business to another level. And we all know, you guys deal with agents every single day. Being an agent is a very lonely business. If you're not making it happen, it's not happening. You feel like you're on an island and you're very, very isolated. And so when we started the company, what we really had a commitment to and a vision of is an organization that, we can provide the product. And we can give the marketing dollars and we can scrub your apps and all of that stuff, do your website. But really an organization that can truly say, listen, if you want to double your business in the next 12 to 18 months, we've got the system to do it. And it's not a bright, shiny object. It's not a magic phrase. It's not a magic product, because it's never been about product. It's about process and procedures.
And I remember you saying you had actually tested this before even starting the company, right? You and Mike had tested a group of advisors, and those advisors saw a lot of good growth. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the FMOs, it was a very large FMO, still well known in the industry today, was owned by Aviva. And because of my role at Aviva, the president reported to me. And they were looking for something to help grow their practice, just like every FMO does. And they started a program using Steranka's coaching platform, the eMyth coaching. And they actually charged an advisor $25,000 to go through a 12-month coaching platform of mine. Wow. And the FMO comped some of the agents that, and we had some agents write a check, but it was just 12 months of the binders they got one podcast a month from him. I think that they might have gotten one office visit. But what I found is not every agent excelled in that, but the agents who took it seriously tripled, quadrupled their business. And so the business, the amount of premium that those agents wrote went from like 150 million in the preceding 12 months to double in the 12 months that they were in the coaching platform. And right then and there, I knew, okay, there's something here. It's not for everybody, but for the guys who want to get engaged and want to follow a system, And that's who we found excelled at this. The agents who really could follow a system were coachable, implemented what Steranka told. We had one agent go from 2 to 20 in 24 months.
Fantastic.
Impressive.
And that kind of leads to the next question. I think you kind of answered that question already. But you've been coaching advisors for 33 years, right? And you've been doing this a long time. You've taught Jeremy and I so much. Over the years, what's the difference in an advisor that doubles, triples, quadruples, 10 times their practice? What's the differentiating factor from the advisors that do that don't?
It's a really, really good question. Something that we, of course, I know each of you guys have a ton of these type of people, in your stable that you work with every single day. But it's the advisor who really two attributes. Number one, they're coachable. We all feel because it's a lonely place and we're on that island, we all feel you don't understand, I'm different. I'm in a big city, I'm in a small city, I'm in a big state, I'm in a small state, I have rich clients, I have poor clients. I've been doing this for 10 years or I've been doing this for 20 years. And so the advisor who's coachable, and as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we struggle with this of taking what you guys deliver on a daily basis and saying, well, I'm just going to tweak it just a little bit to fit more my style. And those advisors aren't nearly as successful as the ones that come in and say, you know what? You tell me what to say word for word, and I will say it exactly that way. So the first attribute that I think is really important for success is coachability. Being able to take the direction and implement it. It's not hard to implement it, but it's hard to make sure that you take it in the exact same fashion because we all listen and hear things different. And that's why, of course, quarterly coaching is so important, right? It's the repetition. If we have children, right? If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Well, human nature is that way. We need that repetition and to be able to internalize things. The second attribute that I think is really important is just that burning passion to grow. If you don't have that desire to grow, if you're happy where you're at, and you're happy with your business and you're satisfied, that's not the attribute we're looking for. We're looking for the advisors, and it doesn't matter the experience. It doesn't matter I've done 10 million 5 years ago. None of that really matters. But the coachability and truly that burning desire, that you're just passionate about, let's face it, we're in the greatest time in our industry we'll ever see.
Yep.
Right? You got the demographics, you got all the stuff going on in the world, you got all the stuff going on in our country. 10,000 boomers a day hitting retirement. So it is the perfect time. Rates have never been better. And when you look at that opportunity in front of you, you're either going to say, I took advantage of that run and I was an incredibly successful advisor, or you're going to look back in 5 years and say, boy, I missed out on that one, and I missed the opportunity to take advantage of the greatest opportunity, professional opportunity I'm ever going to have. And so if you're in the mindset of I want to take advantage of it, and you have the burning desire, two attributes that we look for.
And you mentioned it already too, Brian. But one of those attributes, being coachable, ties right into our quarterly coaching. So with the quarterly coaching that we have advisors come through, what can you tell us about that? Like, what is the thought process? What is the method behind the madness to do quarterly coaching? And how is it worth it for some of these advisors to come out to see us 4 times a year when they have such busy schedules already and trying to hit their goals? What would you say about that?
Well, it's interesting. Probably the greatest basketball player of all time was Michael Jordan. And as great as he was, he didn't stop shooting free throws. He didn't stop going to practice, right? And we need that repetition. And as professionals, we need that repetition. The repetition's delivered, iron sharpens iron. And if I can put you in a room with, 70, 80, 100 like-minded advisors, and I can do that once every 90 days, and I can do it for 15 hours every 90 days. If I can give you 60 hours a year of face-to-face coaching, that's what really moves the needle. And we find that, you guys work with the top advisors for our entire company, and the advisors who are doing 10, 15, 20, $30 million a year, those are the advisors who, number one, come back to every quarterly coaching, but number two, sit in the front couple of rows. And third, they always say the same thing after, a day and a half of face-to-face. They say, I heard so many new things. and I took 10 pages of notes. And it's not necessarily that the things are new, but it's really that your mind is in a different place than it was 12 months, 18 months, 24 months ago, and you can internalize those things differently. They mean different things after you've been doing it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And the quarterly coaching is probably the greatest thing that we ever did as an FMO. Unlike anything that anybody else does, people do trips, right? And they take you golfing, but really it goes back to the foundation of our company of we want to give you the tools. We want to give you the tools that can double your practice. And the quarterly coaching is where it happens.
Yeah. It's our producers that come back again and again. They're in the front row. Crazy. They're the ones that write the most business. Crazy.
Amazing. And still taking 10 pages of notes, even if they've been there
10 pages of notes.
20, 30 times.
Well, I mean, I told on an earlier podcast, one of my top advisors has been going for 7-8 years now, and it's amazing the notes she took in the last meeting. And she had some revelations, and she's been going 7 to 8 years, almost every quarter. I'd say barely missed any.
Well, and they walk out of they get a tremendous amount of value. Again, in our FMO space today, to think you do a day and a half of face-to-face coaching with no due respect to the home office guys, but we have no home office guys getting on stage to tell you about the latest, greatest HODX indexing strategy and look at the back testing and upside potential, no downside risk. But we focus our coaching on tools that will make you better. And every agent, you guys know this better than anybody, every one of your agents walks out with a plan for the next 90 days, which is a bite-sized piece to help them run their business more efficiently, more effectively, but most importantly, on what they need to do to grow their practice. So you walk out of every coaching with a plan.
Love that.
So I guess last question, we have, lots of new and upcoming advisors working with Jeremy and I, we're out there looking for the right blood type every single day. We have a couple producers each month we can add to our stall of producers, with on top of the ones we're already working with. What advice would you give to kind of those up and coming producers or the ones that want to be at the top?
Really, really good question. Because of my role with the insurance companies, not only did I run the owned distributions, but I got to know the marketing reps, the ADC, sales consultants, whatever you like to call them, quite well. And just like knowing the ins and outs of the FMO structure, I also got to see what makes a successful marketer. And when I look at that, so many agents, right? We're all out there, and they get a call from their marketer every single Monday. What are you working on this week that I can help you with? And that, to me, could be a more frustrating call of, you want me to write business with your FMO, but you're going to call me to say what can you run me an illustration on? And the two of you do this better than any marketer I've ever seen in the industry, and that is, helping me grow my practice. So my words to advisors, you guys can deliver the websites and all the stuff everybody else can. But unlike most ADCs in the industry today, you guys are true business consultants. You have the wherewithal in your stable. You've seen the growth. You guys have both helped agents go from 2 to 20. And that's an incredibly difficult feat. You guys do it day in and day out. So my words to a agent who's on here, who's thinking about coming aboard, number one, check yourself. You need to have that desire. You need to be coachable. Otherwise, I know you guys have a line of people who are trying to get with you. So you need to come with the table of, Jeremy, tell me what to do and I will do it. Or Mike, I have a passionate desire to build my business over the next 12 months. So you need to make sure you come to that, because otherwise, I know you mentioned I'm busy. I know you guys are busy too, day in and day out, right, with back-to-back coaching calls. But for the advisors coming on board, what you have in working with the two of you or Simplicity Minneapolis is, somebody who's going to provide you product, but also has walked that path and demonstrated that I can take an agent from 2 to 20, or I can take an agent from 10 to 30. I can take an agent from 0 today to 10 million in the next 12 to 24 months. So make sure you come to the table with those two, facets, that desire, that coachability, beg and plead with Mike and Jeremy to say, I want to be part of your group because that's a real limited, it's a real limited opportunity for you. And then do exactly what they say.
Fantastic. I mean, we love helping people, but we can't help everybody, right? And we love helping producers. So, Brian, we call it Team Elevate. So if they want to book a call with Jeremy and I, they get Jeremy and I directly. They're not going to get somebody, if somebody doesn't know what they're doing, they're going to get Jeremy and I directly. If they book a call with us, we say, come join Team Elevate. And we're going to help elevate your practice. We're going to help you get to whatever level you want to get to. And it's because we've helped other people do it. It's not just, hey, here's this silver bullet. It's, hey, here's the steps. So.
And I would tell you, sometimes it kind of goes by the wayside of, how important that is, that you guys would take the time, you're busy working with producers, helping existing people grow their practice. But for a new agent coming on, you would actually take the time, and I could actually have a phone call with you, because I know what you guys could do in a half hour is probably more value than, and I have this conversation every day with agents, what you guys do, in a half hour is more value. Nobody's ever shown me that. Nobody's ever helped me with that. It's been a struggle for 15 years, and nobody's ever been able to do that. And for you guys to take time out of your schedules and have that conversation with advisors is incredibly powerful.
Awesome. Brian, we really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
That we're able to get you finally, in your busy schedule, because I know you're on calls all the time with other ADCs, helping other producers grow their practice. So we appreciate it. And like we say, if you want to come join Team Elevate, if you want to grow your practice, if you have that desire to grow, if you want to be coachable, we will help you. We're just looking for, that's what we're looking for.
Happy selling,
Give
guys.
us a call.
Awesome. Come join Team
Thank
Elevate.
you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Give us a shout.